Hi there, my name is Jay, and I'm a former professional wrestling editor and producer, here to share my perspective about current or recent events. Welcome to Wrestling Reviewed. This summer turned out to be an exciting time to be a wrestling fan, but also a really busy one. AEW is setting company records in the UK, and seemingly every week there's another big event. Impact Wrestling is following the trend of wrestling being in a good place right now, and keeps running solid show after solid show, to decent gates, buy rates, and audience numbers. After a Slammiversary and a solid show with New Japan, they recently put on the Emergence event, which we will take a look at today. Now, with this being a TV special rather than a pay-per-view, maybe we can't expect a top-notch card from top to bottom. Still, that the World Heavyweight Champion and the X-Division Champion are entangled in an all-encompassing 8-man storyline is sort of a disappointment. I'm hoping this eventually leads to a big build to Bound for Glory, but otherwise I wouldn't understand the decision yet. Still, we have an exciting card, so let's go. Emergence took place on August 27, 2023, from the Rebel Entertainment Complex in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Official attendance numbers are unknown, and pre-sales didn't go as well as they did for Rebellion earlier this year in the same venue. It is safe to assume that they didn't sell out the venue this time around, which explains why they had very dark crowd lighting throughout the show. The Rebel Complex is still a pretty cool looking venue though. One thing I particularly enjoy about these specials is that they are just under 3 hours long, which is making for a very comfortable watch, especially compared to shows of other promotions that tend to go 4 hours or longer, which is just too long sometimes, so I have to split viewing those shows in half. Ever since his return at Slammiversary, Eric Young has been at the receiving end of beatdowns by the design, which now only consists of Deonna and Khan. Angels went down to do his own thing. He hasn't been able to get retribution on them, and this no DQ match is built to end it between them once and for all. Considering this match has been lurking since the stabbing angle that wrote EY off of TV, this better give us a decisive end to the story, or put an interesting enough twist on it to warrant an extension of this story. There are surely some crowd-sweetening intentions behind it, but the dark lighting with the spotlights on the stage gave this match especially an eerie kind of vibe that seems well fitted for the conclusion of a story that is about violence and drama. Deonna tries to play mind games with EY as he brings a violent by design towel into play, EY's old stable. EY takes out Khan on the outside with a surprise tope, and Young follows this by hitting a belly-to-belly on Deonna before going for a ladder on the outside. Young sets it up in the ring, but Deonna catches him. A suplex attempt gets blocked, but Deonna drop toe holds EY into the ladder. Khan rips EY out of the ring, but the camera doesn't really catch all of it. The design decided to make things more violent as Deonna chokes EY with a chain on the outside. Back in the ring, Deonna lights up EY with baking sheets, giving this match a slightly more comedic twist. A neckbreaker by Deonna for 2, and then Deonna sets up a chair in the corner and plans to put EY in it, but he fights back. A right hand by Deonna sends EY crashing down to the mat. Then Deonna gets tossed a stapler, which EY prevents from being used for a while, but eventually he gets stapled into his fingers and armpit. Finally, Deonna is able to send EY's head into the setup chair. Now Deonna sets up the ladder in the corner and puts a trash can over EY's head. He hits EY with another chair while Young is defenseless. Things are all looking dire for Young as Deonna climbs the ladder, but somehow EY gets up and DVDs Deonna, barely hitting the trash can. Khan pulls EY out of the ring again and tries to punish EY more, but EY outsmarts the big man by handcuffing him to the turnbuckle. Essentially, he is removing his disadvantage from this match. Deonna begs for mercy, but EY lights him up with a trash can lid anyway. Young returns the favor from earlier and staples Deonna as a receipt. Young climbs up the ladder and hits an elbow drop off of it, only for Deonna to kick out at the very last second. Young immediately goes for more steel chairs that he sets up in the ring. He tries to go for a piledriver, but Khan breaks free from the handcuffs, causing a distraction that Deonna uses for a low blow. Young then gets chokeslammed on the chairs, but still kicks out at 2. Deonna then introduces a barbed wire board to the match, and the design tried to put EY into the wire with a team maneuver. Young, however, rams Deonna into Khan and DVDs both of his opponents into the barbed wire, which was an incredible display of power. Young then piledrives Deonna into the barbed wire board for the decisive victory. This was a fun opening contest that had a very basic, but also at the same time effective blow-off match structure to it. EY certainly came out on top, and this was presented as a sort of end to his feud with Deonna. It was befitting that he was as decisive as he was, given that he is supposed to go out as a major and strong player out of this program. I'm curious to see what the future holds. The violence in this match certainly was befitting of the storyline where EY was put through so much, so that was alright. That was totally fine. I don't know where he goes from here, but time will tell. As for its stands, this match gets a B. We get an interview with Joe Hendry and Yuya Uemura, who won a tag team match on the pre-show. They make their intentions clear that they are aiming for the tag team championships. This was also a bit of a cringy segment with them getting the interviewer to scream their tag team name, but whatever. We cut to a backstage altercation where Taylor Wilde seems to have been attacked and taken out of the Knockouts tag team title match, allegedly by Jody Threat, who denies the accusations, but is supposed to be Taylor's replacement. That match is up next, thankfully, otherwise I wouldn't have been able to remember this at all. So everyone is gunning for the Knockouts tag team titles, and I just want to commend Impact Wrestling on their ability to make tag team wrestling stand out and seem important at most points of their existence. Shaw and Slamovich start out with both countering back and forth until they arrive at a standoff. King tags herself in and comes face to face with Masha exchanging strikes. Masha gets planted after attempting a wheelbarrow, but counters a powerbomb with a Hurricane Rana and Stomp combination. Masha tags her partner, Killer Kelly, who sucker kicks a downed King. King strikes Kelly with a high kick, hits a nice suplex for 2. Jessica tags herself in after Courtney Rush baited King into their corner. Jessica works Killer Kelly for a bit and hits a splash, while Savannah Evans manages to pull a blind tag. Shaw and Evans work Kelly for a while in their corner, and then Shaw hits a foot stomp in that corner. Kylan King tags her involuntary tag team partner Jody Threat, who botches an Irish whip with Kelly but recovers with a charge attack that leads to a German suplex. Jody Threat then tags the Death Dolls, much to the dismay of King. The Death Dolls work Kelly in the corner, but get taken out by Kelly with a double DDT. Kelly then is finally able to make the tag to her partner Masha, who hot tags the shit out of everyone with strikes and suplexes. Masha takes out Shaw and Threat with a dropkick, but gets surprisingly speared by Rush. Evan hits a Samoan drop on her, Jessica hits a botched headbutt, King hits a cutter, and Threat hits a massive Falcon Arrow. Kelly tries to clothesline Threat out of the ring, but they botch that spot too to comedic extent. MK Ultra and Courtney Rush remain in the ring, and Courtney gets a double knee strike and a dangerous looking double pile driver for the champions to successfully defend their titles. Aside from this being a very messy affair between Jody Threat and Killer Kelly, this was another solidly worked match with a decent structure to it. They didn't utilize the stipulation all that much, but I do enjoy that the MK Ultra team was booked so strongly they never even tagged out during the match, so it was either Masha or Kelly all the fucking time, which puts them over quite strongly. They have a decisive performance here, and I really enjoyed this one. It was tons of fun to watch. I just wish they would maybe reconsider their tag team finisher, as it looked quite dangerous. Deduct them some points for it being quite messy at times, but it's still very fun to watch. It was still very solid, it worked, so this match gets a B-. While I haven't followed this storyline to its entirety, Johnny Swinger's arc has been pretty entertaining in the past couple of weeks, culminating in an emotionally tense loser leaves Impact match with his stooge Zicky Dice. In that match he earned a title shot which he receives against the newly crowned digital media champion Kenny King right now. We get an interview with Swinger ahead of his match, reminding us of Swinger's first and only title reign with Simon Diamond almost 20 years ago. Swinger cuts a surprisingly serious promo about how he got what it takes and how he gave his life to the wrestling business. Swinger backs up into the corner early on, taking his time against the much younger Kenny King. Swinger with a nice gun show before they lock up and back up in the corner again. Swinger goes to the outside of the ring and baits Kenny King into a low blow while he is coming back in. Swinger follows this up with a low blow headbutt and continues to work King. Both are evenly matched in shoulder blocks, but Swinger drops an elbow on King, who dropped down. Swinger is in control until King hits a power slam and gets the upper hand. King's accomplice, Shell and Jean, gets involved in the match too. King with a tiny springboard leg drop to Swinger for a 2 count. Swinger then avoids a charge into the corner and hits some punches and a side suplex for 2. Sidewalk slam and Swinger hits a springboard leg drop himself. That might have caught King badly. Swinger then hits a baseball slide and goes for a turnbuckle attack, but Jean distracts Swinger and the ref, causing Swinger to get crotched on the top rope. This causes the referee to kick out Jean of the arena, and while this is happening, Heath enters the ring and hits the wake-up call on King. Swinger covers King for a very close 2 count. Swinger then signals for something off of the top rope, but Kenny King hits the Royal Flush for the victory. Jean and King attack Swinger after the match, and a bunch of referees and officials come out to stop them, including Tommy Dreamer, who gets clocked and laid out by King too. Of course, nobody seriously considered Swinger to win this matchup or a championship at this stage of his career, but I'm not gonna lie, they sort of had me for a moment with the interference of Heath. Unfortunately, with the interference and Swinger not being able to capitalize, he looked even worse in defeat. It was not a great look for him, but Kenny King on the other hand looked really strong, which is a good thing since he's the talent that's probably going to be featured much longer on this matchup. It wasn't bad to watch, but it's also a very easy skip, so a solid C is a fair rating, I think. Also, we're gonna get a program between Kenny King and Tommy Dreamer out of this, which I'm not sure if I need this, but it's fine. I guess Kenny's going to go on this sort of legend killer tour until Bound for Glory. Fine, whatever, let's do it.
I've been really looking forward to see this match. The Rascalz have won a tag team tournament to earn their title shot and had issues with pretty much everyone on the roster until we finally got to Emergence. Subculture hasn't been massively featured on TV, but still this pairing promises high-speed action. Andrews and Miguel start the match, grappling for control ending, how could it be any different, at a standoff. The first exchange is surprisingly subdued and low energy. Andrews takes down Miguel with an arm drag, but before anything else can happen, Wentz pulls Miguel out of harm's way and gets tagged in. Wentz and Webster with a headlock that goes on a bit too long and some more fighting for control that leads to an inverted sentence by Webster. Some tag team flips by Subculture for a 2 count, and Andrews immediately goes for another tag, and Webster stomps the arm of Wentz very lightly. Miguel pulls apart the ropes and Webster crashes to the outside. The Rascalz use this to gain control of the match and start working Webster some more. Wentz with a big kick to the face of Webster for a 1 count. The Rascalz hit a teamwork drop kick and we go for more tag team offense by the Rascalz. Webster misses a springboard moonsault and ends up in a key lock, which he eventually gets out of by hitting the ropes. Miguel hits another kick to a down Webster who rolls to the outside. He gets dropped on the apron, and we all know that this is the hardest part of the ring. Miguel follows it up with a senton to the inside of the ring for 2, and more tag team work by the Rascalz, keeping the heat on Webster. Eventually, Webster manages to tag in Andrews, who runs wild on them with a bit of quick offense, hitting a backflip kick, Northern Light suplex, and a foot stomp on Miguel. He hits a backflip facebuster for another 2 count. In a nice sequence, Miguel tries to catch himself in the ropes, only to get double drop kicked by Subculture. They follow this up with stereo dives to the outside, and back in the ring, Webster misses a 450, but Subculture hit a team powerbomb for another 2 count. Miguel kicks Webster on the outside with a super kick and hits a trapped suplex on Andrews. The Rascalz hit a team foot stomp for a close 2 count, Andrews flips out of a double suplex attempt, and all 4 men are in the ring, exchanging strikes. Everyone goes down and keep up after a super kick headbutt exchange, with the double down following after handspring kicks by the Rascalz. They keep the pressure on Webster with more kicks and a stomp. Webster, however, counters a team flip by getting the knees up, while Andrews flies inside to the ring with a destroyer. Webster adds a reverse tornado DDT for another near fall. Miguel pulls Andrews out of the ring, and Subculture accidentally hit each other. The Rascalz hit a team maneuver off of the stage, and Miguel hits a crossroads for a 2 count, and spray paints Andrews in a moment where the ref is distracted. The Rascalz can't capitalize on this, however, as ABC come out to the ring and argue with the referee. Suddenly, the Good Hands attack ABC, and those teams fight around the ringside area. Danny Luna of Subculture dives onto them all. Webster tags himself in and hits a senton bomb for a really close 2 count. He puts Miguel on the top rope and tries to hit a superplex, but Wentz intervenes, allowing Miguel to hit a kick, 619, and then the Rascalz hit a team stomp for the victory and title change.
Gotta say I'm surprised by the title change in hands again so soon after the title change at Slammiversary, but I guess it kind of makes sense to take the titles off of a team that is very rarely on TV since they're based from the UK. I thought the match was kind of lacking in the beginning, it lacked a bit of energy and excitement, but once they kicked into second gear it was more what I was expecting and was a spectacular and high energy match. The ending was a bit overbooked too, but it could have gone either way, so that was fine as well. There's a storyline in the background that's getting progressed, maybe building to a matchup at Bound for Glory, so that is fine work as well. I think it's a bit of a shame that Subculture didn't look super strong in defeat. Maybe they will get their image and look a bit stronger even if they lose that effort again. I'm gonna give this one a B-. It was still entertaining, but it could have been a lot better if it were for different things. So if they had a more exciting match structure and if they had a little bit less interference or a better mix of the two, it would have been better. But as it stands, it's a B- match.
We get a promo by Bully Ray's team for the 8-man tag team matchup. It's hard to understand what they are saying because the sound quality isn't great, but surely it can be summed up with hype for the match and a bit of a hint of dissension between the heels. We then see Deonna Purrazzo and Trinity preparing for their title match later on tonight. Ever since I started reviewing Impact Wrestling earlier this year, Edwards and Kazarian have been feuding in a series of matches that I found to be rather disappointing. Since their feud has escalated even further, with their wives getting involved and Lio Edwards accidentally being hit by Kazarian with a candlestick. So this is a cinematic match taking place in Killer Kowalski's wrestling school in Massachusetts. I'm not so sure what the rules of the match are, but it is certainly presented as a way to end the rivalry or put a different spin onto the entire thing. We start the scene with Kazarian sitting in his car, remembering Killer Kowalski to sappy pop music. Inside the school, he keeps staring at an autographed picture of Kowalski that apparently he gave him. He's also just moving in slow motion. Edward shows up too eventually, and they start discussing what happened between them and shout at each other about Kowalski. This seems to take forever. Finally, they start fighting after Eddie sits down in Kowalski's chair. Apparently this is an official match with regular rules as there are referees present. They lock up and Eddie gets back into the corner quickly. Kaz takes the fight to him, so Edwards escapes into a second ring and rams Kazarian into the aprons. Edwards keeps stomping Kaz until he takes him down with a forearm shot. Kazarian shoots up and takes Eddie down with multiple shots. He takes him out of the ring. The whole thing is shot with a shaky handheld cam, and it's got different color grading to make it visually stand out from the rest of the show, by the way. Which is a good choice, but I wish the camera wobbled less around, it's making me kinda sick. Outside, Kaz gets drop-toed into a chair. Kaz then gets driven into some weightlifting equipment, of which Kazarian then hits a Hurricane Rana in a pretty cool spot. Kazarian continues to hurt Eddie on the outside, who struggles to get back into the ring. Once back inside, Kazarian hits a springboard leg drop and goes for the chicken wing, but Eddie fights out of it and hits the backpack stunner for a 2 count. Kazarian eventually goes for a backstabber, but Eddie just trucks him off. Both fight for control until Kaz hits the Fade to Black for a 2 count. Suddenly, Lio Edwards shows up and shouts at Kazarian to get him distracted. Edwards uses this to hit the Boston Knee Party from behind and pick up a quick victory. The Edwards walk away as the music starts playing again. Kazarian, who is disappointed at himself, looks at Kowalski's picture again, just as Lio Edwards attacks him with a candlestick. Acting sorta as a jump scare, Edwards stacks him with the picture of Kowalski as the sappy music plays again and Kazarian falls down in slow motion. This is unintentionally hilarious in all the worst ways.
To be quite honest, the cinematic match aspect of this helped them have a much nicer and free-flowing match than the ones that they had before. It's just a shame that the match itself was nothing to write home about and it still wasn't the end of their feud, which I'm getting quite tired of, I must say. I wish they would move on to different things, but here we are. The whole somberly walking to the venue and staring at the picture and moving in slow motion and sappy music kind of deal was, to be honest, a little bit laughable. It was funny, but unintentionally funny, which isn't the thing that they were going for, I assume. Still, here we are. I'm giving this one a C as well. It was short at least, even though it felt for an eternity.
Sanada, who's got a storied history of Impact Wrestling, takes on Jake Something in a non-title matchup. Something just returned at Slammiversary and has been on an impressive roll ever since. I have a feeling how this match with the IWGP champion will go, but since this is a non-title matchup, there might be some room for a surprise. Something overpowers Sanada early on as both remain very cautious of the other. Sanada with a headlock, but Something shoulder blocks him down. Sanada rolls to the outside to regain his composure. Something chases him, but Sanada uses this to dropkick him and lock in a submission hold in the ropes. Sanada hits another big dropkick to a helpless Something, who falls out of the ring. He hits a leg sweep and a lazy cover. A follow-up suplex attempt is blocked, and Something just runs over Sanada. A massive clothesline takes down the champion for a 2 count. Something follows this up with more offense, but it's not enough. Sanada fights back with chops, but eats a massive forearm shot. They take a long rest hold before Sanada tries to power out of the hold and goes for a suplex that gets blocked again. Something misses a corner attack and gets suplexed by Sanada, as both men remain down for a while. Sanada hits 2 dropkicks and takes Something out of the ring and dives right after him. Back in the ring, Sanada has trouble lifting Jake Something and is hit by a huge right shoulder to the gut. Something tries to follow this up with a powerbomb, but Sanada manages to fight out and lock in a Dragon Sleeper. Something powers out, but Sanada cuts him off with the Magic Whip. Sanada gets a second wind and hits a TKO for a 2 count. As a follow-up, Sanada hits a moonsault for another near fall. The next moonsault attempt gets caught and turned into a driver by something that doesn't prove successful either. Sanada unloads on something, but he won't go down. He catches a Hurricane Rana attempt and nicely turns it into a massive sit-out powerbomb. A clothesline is being avoided and Sanada kicks something in the head and hits the Shining Wizard. Something just pushes Sanada down and lays him out with a haymaker, but something wastes time playing to the crowd, allowing Sanada to recover. He hits the deadfall for the victory.
I had a hard time getting into this match as it wasn't quite clear what the dynamic was in the beginning, and as I understand it, both guys went into this match as good guys, and it seemed like the Toronto crowd got confused about this as well, but they got into the match more as the match went on. They were quiet in the beginning, but they kept picking up. And it's a detriment to both of the guys working their ass off. They had a quite competitive match that built solidly on their foundation. They had some cool spots in there, and they had a logical conclusion by the experienced champion outmatching the powerful but careless rookie. I'm giving this one a B-. It was a great effort, but the storyline could have been a little bit more clear or different if it had any build to it, which it didn't, but still a fun time.
The build of this matchup has been the main focus of Impact lately, encompassing the main event and X Division title scene. I'm hoping for this to be a device to set up the feuds that will headline the biggest show of the year, Bound for Glory, because I have no particular interest in this many people to keep feuding with each other, especially in this combination. Right now, I'm going to predict the following matches at Bound for Glory: PCO vs Bully Ray, Josh Alexander vs Alex Shelley, and a 3-way dance between Rush, Kushida, and Sabin. I got a small preview of Alexander at the Multiverse United 2 show, and I definitely want to see more of him in action. If you can recommend a singles match of Alexander to me, drop me a comment below. We kick things off with Rush and Sabin, a match we sadly were denied at Slammiversary. Rush tags in Myers, who blindsides Sabin. Coming back in, Rush gets taken down by Sabin. Just seeing how fast they go makes me want to see the singles match that we didn't get. Time Machine team up to hit a dropkick on Rush. Now Myers comes in and Time Machine team up on him too. Kushida works Myers' arm, and the faces keep control of the match that way for a while. Myers finally tags in Moose, who wants Alexander in the ring. Alexander gets tossed into the corner but is able to turn her around. Moose dropkicks Alexander, who's still sitting on the top rope, but Alexander returns the favor and crotches Moose. He follows this up by standing on Moose's crotch. Alexander tags in Sabin, who gets down by Bully Ray on the top rope. Ray works Sabin and hits a big suplex, followed by another one. Bully and his team continue to punish Sabin in the ring, but suddenly the heels set up a table on the outside, so the faces do the same thing on their side of the ring. Multiple body slams on Sabin by everyone, as the heels remain firmly in control of the match. Sabin then uses a distraction to hit a super kick on Myers, which is enough to tag in Josh Alexander, who runs wild on everyone, hitting German suplexes left and right. He takes Bully Ray off of the top rope, hits a rolling senton on Moose, and follows this up by a jumping knee drop. Myers kicks Shelley, but gets slammed into the middle turnbuckle. Kushida hits a punch on Rush, but gets suplexed by Bully Ray. Sabin then takes out Ray with a missile dropkick and takes out Moose off the ring. He accidentally hits Shelley and gets powerbombed on the apron by Moose. Moose goes for a powerbomb on Alexander's, but he counters and locks in the ankle lock. Moose then saves the match by grabbing the ropes, so Alexander transitions into a sharpshooter. Myers simply drops an elbow on the referee to prevent the match from ending. Myers hits a big clothesline, but Time Machine kicked the hell out of him. Moose catches Sabin and puts him through one of the tables on the outside. Kushida then locks in the hoverboard lock on Moose, but Rush puts him through another table. Bully Ray finds himself attacking Shelley on the stage, so naturally PCO shows up to stop him. PCO goes for a chokeslam, but Myers stops him with a low blow. All of the heels team up to put PCO through a table from the stage in a nasty spot, but of course PCO just gets up after this. He cleans house, and Bully Ray backs away from him. PCO follows him and gets clocked by a returning Steve Maclin. Maclin and Alexander start trading blows on the stage, with Maclin trying to injure Alexander's arm again. Security runs in to break the two apart, but they have some trouble with that. After this situation is resolved, Alexander gets back into the ring and is greeted by a Uranagi from Moose. Shelley takes out Moose, but Mayo slams Alex Shelley into Josh Alexander, who acts really pissed about that. Shelley leaves, and Moose uses the distraction to hit a spear for the victory.
that there was a lot to unpack during this match, maybe a bit too much for my liking. There were tons of storylines that got interwoven in this one and progressed, and this might be a good thing, but there was more to talk about this looking at it like an angle or a storyline device than there was as a match. It was quite basic. They had a decent kind of phase in there where everyone was running wild, but otherwise there wasn't much to write home about. I'm quite happy about Maclin being back, and I'm quite happy about the prospect of Josh Alexander versus him in the near future. I thought it progressed the main storylines quite nicely, so I'm not deducting too many points. Still, I hesitate to give this any more than a C+.
We get a video package announcing the return of Jordynne Grace at Victory Road, who has been absent from Impact for a while. We get a surprise appearance by Knockouts legend Gail Kim, who joins the commentary team. They lock up and Purazzo tries to go for an armbar almost immediately. Trinity with a slide-in kick and then hitting an X kick for 2. A head scissor on the outside gets turned into a reverse pile driver by Purazzo. Ouch. Deonna hits a backstabber for 2, but she doesn't really seem fazed by it. Eventually Trinity fights back and hits a jawbreaker before both women collide with a double clothesline for a double down spot. Deonna takes down Trinity and hyperextends her arm, follows this with a knee lift, leg sweep, and transitions into an arm bar in a great sequence. Trinity, however, makes it to the ropes relatively quick. Trinity traps Deonna's head and slams her into the ground, and immediately goes for a split leg moonsault for another takedown. Purazzo tries for a backslide, but changes her mind and locks in the arm bar, out of which Trinity slips out and manages to lock in the Starstruck hold for a second. She has to let go because of the earlier attacks and damage to her arm. Purazzo, unable to capitalize, gets hit with a full Nelson bomb for another 2 count. Trinity goes for the move again from the turnbuckle, but Purazzo rips her down. Trinity hits a big kick, however, code red, and locks in the Starstruck submission hold and forces Deonna to tap and retain her title. Afterwards, both women shake hands and Trinity celebrates her victory.
To be frank, I enjoyed the first encounter that these two had a bit more. Here it felt like they were lacking a bit of intensity and a bit of energy, but still they worked a really competent matchup, and especially the final sequence was really smooth and exciting to watch. It's good that Trinity is being booked as a very dominant and decisive champion, picking up the victory quite easily. It was a bit predictable how this would play out, but it's still a very solid booking decision, and I'm quite interested to see what the future holds for Trinity, but also where Deonna goes from here. As it stands, I'm giving this match a solid B grade.
While the match quality of this show was more or less on par with the Multiverse United show, I found this one to be way more exciting and enjoyable due to things being at stake and storylines progressing. Matches range from okay to good, but most major angles got developed or even ended, and we got our basic plot points laid out for the build towards Bound for Glory. Add in a healthy mix of surprise returns and announcement, and we end up with a very enjoyable show that definitely could have been stronger in terms of in-ring work. The production was alright this time around, but having this dark lighting to mask the lack of people wasn't always a pretty sight to behold. Plus, during the main event I could hear some muffled talk in the background, presumably by the production team. It's been hinted at that Impact will receive a production upgrade at Victory Road, which I am welcoming. That show has the potential to draw a much larger crowd too, so I'm really looking forward to it. That's it for this review. Make sure to like and subscribe and maybe leave suggestions down below. Check out my previous reviews if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time. Take care.